What's on your bucket list? If you're like me and millions of other people in this world, seeing the seven wonders of the world are probably one of the things there. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about today, one of those seven wonders of the world, which is going to be the Great Wall of China. The immensity that is the Great Wall of China is kind of hard to wrap your head around. To help you understand it a little bit, I'll be going over three main points. First, the sections of the wall and a little bit of one of the misconceptions with it. Time in which those sections of the wall were built, and the most popular one to visit now, and last but not least, why it was built. So one of the first misconceptions is that the Great Wall of China is just this one continuous wall that runs along, but that's actually not true. It's actually a bunch of different sections of the wall. Around 10 different sections are kind of the ones that are still, that you can visit. A lot of the other ones that were built way back when have diminished and turned to rubble, so you can't really see those now. The wall runs from the North Korean border to the Jingyuan Pass, and it spans about 13,000 miles. A world-renowned historian in 2017, Morris, goes on to debunk another myth that you may have heard in grade school, that you can see it from space. However, that's unfortunately not true. You can't really see it from space, although it is very long. It's not the widest. It's actually at the widest, I believe it's only about 20 feet wide. So you actually cannot see it from space, unfortunately. And Morris also states that, contrary to popular belief, it doesn't completely cover the whole northern wall. It actually only goes about halfway through the northern border of China. And I'm just going to go ahead and give you a visual on that real quick. So you can see it kind of starts over here at the North Korea border, and it runs on over to just about halfway. That's about where it ends, but China keeps on going over there. So that's that. But as you can imagine, those 13,000 miles weren't built overnight. In fact, it took many millennia to build the wall as we know it today. So question that you might want to ask is, when was it built? It's hard to say. Like I mentioned earlier, some of those rubble areas, they probably can be dated back to around about 5th century BC, when China was separated into separate kingdoms, and that's kind of why they're built in sections, so that when the kingdoms were fighting, they would build their own sections in kind of different places. But back in 220 BC, Emperor Qin Shi Huang, he's the first emperor of like a unified China. He ordered the unification of a lot of those walls, and that's how they became connected a little bit. But they're not all connected, as you would think. Amanda Onion, who's a writer and editor for History.com, explains that the Great Wall, as we know it today, was mainly built in the Ming Dynasty, which is about 1368 to 1644 BC, or not BC, 1368 to 1644. Onion also explains that most of the pictures we see whenever you see someone visits the Great Wall of China, it's from the restored section that was restored around in the 1950s. Joseph Santangelo, who's a writer for The Culture Trip, wrote in 2017 that the part of the wall that has all the signature elements that you want to see, like the cool towers and the bricks design, can mostly be found in the Huangyuan section, or it's also called the Huang Pass, is another way to look it up. And the last thing that you might be wondering is why? Why was the Great Wall of China this massive structure built? USC alumni and Chinese native Sarah Lin Hua wrote in 2018 that the original purpose of the Great Wall, as we know it, was for protection. It really was, and it was mainly from the Xingnu, which also you know them as the Huns, is like a common name for them. Although they could scale the wall, and they did quite often, they couldn't bring their horses. You can't bring a horse over a wall 3 times the size of a man, so that gave them a great disadvantage, and they were easier to eradicate. And in 2017, Christic wrote of a second purpose of the wall, and that was to enforce tax and duties along the Silk Road and to regulate goods coming into China. So as you can imagine, getting a horse over the wall is nearly impossible. Same thing with getting a cart full of goods over the wall. It wasn't really feasible. So they were kind of forced to go to the wall to get through it. So soldiers could impose the taxes on them, regulate those goods, and they also the merchants would also benefit from using the wall to get over the treacherous terrain. They could just take the wall with their cart. So in conclusion, I know from my research that the Great Wall of China is something that I do want to see before I pass, and just like me, millions of others feel the same way. I hope that today I give you a little bit more information, maybe some things that you may have not known, such as that it's built in sections, a couple misconceptions about it, time in which the wall was built, that we know it today, and the two main purposes of the wall. I hope you have a greater understanding of one of the most impressive man-made feats that is the Great Wall of China.